Hey Pokemon trainers, it's everybody's favorite Professor here, Professor Shuckle, and I am accompanied today by my Pokemon expert friend, who's going to help me take a look at this new set that's coming out, Phantom Gate. The Japanese cards were leaked, and some rough translations have already been given up, so we're going to go through some of these to see what new cards are going to be coming out that are going to impact the game heavily, and some other interesting cards that have, might be a little bit fun to try out.
All right, so yeah, as you said, I'm his friend. I also have a YouTube channel, CyberC. Shameless shout out there. But yeah, we're just gonna go over through the Phantom Gate set, and along with the Hyper Metal deck. The reason being is the Hyper Metal deck is most likely going to be part of our Phantom Gate set, so we'll just go over them all at once. Just make things easier.
Alright, so without further ado, let's jump right in. We're at the grass types here, which for the most part, I don't think there's really anything to talk about them. None of them are really particularly interesting.
No, nothing really great. There's a few interesting ones, don't get me wrong. Like Venomoth has a Vertigo Wind, but it's like you might as well just play Seismitoad in all honesty.
Yeah, that's the whole, every time your opponent plays a trainer card, they'll flip a coin. If it's tails, they'll discard it.
Yeah,
I'm going to zoom in a bit. There we go.
just stick with the Seismitoad, which just does damage and prevents it altogether. It's not based off a flip, which is just all the difference.
Alright, for fire types, we've only got 4 different fire types. We've got,
Actually, to also tell you, the Yen Mega seems interesting. It doesn't seem great by any stretch of the mean. Whatever the I can't speak right now. Sorry. It doesn't seem that great, but Windfall is just, your nice reshuffling. It has free retreat. It has a resistance to fighting, which is also big right now, and critical attack, like 100 for 3 colorless. Not the greatest, but like it's just an interesting card. I don't think it's that great in all honesty, but I think it deserves a little. It's an honorable mention in my books.
yeah, we haven't seen that kind of mechanic, switching from a bench to gain an effective an attack, really, that I can recall.
Or at least recently. We might have. I haven't played. I only played this game starting a few years ago, so yeah.
Yeah, I've only got a year under my belt, too, but let's move on to the fire types. We've got a Talonflame line here, but he's not really anything special. None of his attacks are exceedingly good. What's really interesting is this new Pyroar that we're going to be getting in this new set, though.
My problem with this Pyroar, though, is you're gonna obviously want to play it in your Flashfire Pyroar deck. However, that card sometimes can take it's a little hard to power it up because you're constantly discarding the energy to attack to do decent damage with it. And this one also needs to have you need to discard fire energy attached to it in order to get the ability. Now, don't get me wrong, the ability is amazing. Instant gust effects have always been amazing. Just look at like past cards. Like look at Pokemon Capture before the rule change. Look at Lysander right now. Like that, all these cards that just bring up things from the bench with no quote unquote downside are just amazing. My only problem with this is just it's gonna require you having to basically power up 2 Pyroars at once in order to get the full effect. Which is why I feel something like Ninetales is better at the moment, but you never know.
I could see this Pyroar being used as maybe like a 1-1 line, or well, maybe not. You'll run more of the other Pyroars for sure, but you might tech in one of these into maybe an Emboar Delphox deck, maybe because you can afford to attach all the energies and stuff, and they run the retrievals. But I mean, it's a good card. It's got to find its own little notch in the competitive play.
Oh yeah, it's a good card. It's just that powering up your other Pyroar and this at the same time might prove to be a little difficult.
Even with Blacksmith in format.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the fire types. Short little area. We got our water types now. So the first one down this list that is really intriguing, to be honest, is this Feraligatr right here.
Feraligator's cool. He's not good. I don't think he's going to see any competitive play, but I think he's going to be one of those little fun casual decks. Destructive Whirlpool is nothing great. 60 damage for 3 is pretty bad. Yes, you have the chance to discard energy, but your damage output on that attack is too low anyways. However, its second attack Actually, it doesn't have this translated name here, but it does 80 plus 80 damage if they're already damaged. So I feel like this creates a cute little combo with a Fortress. You do Fortress, put 10 on everything, attack with Fraligator, you're hitting 170.
Yep. It also opens up plays for maybe a Dust Noir and stuff. You get one of those going, move the damage around, so you're always hitting for that, big 160. It's an interesting card. It hits heavy, but it's very gimmicky, and it's a stage 2, so I mean, it's going to be definitely hard to get multiples of these set up fast.
That would be that's another problem. It is a stage 2, and if Dust Noir line would be good in this, but that's another stage 2 you have to set up. And with Seismitoad in the formats, it's just not looking good for stage 2s right now.
Yeah. So that's basically, to be honest, he's the only real interesting water Pokemon that we got in this set. Everything else is just pretty, kind of just run-of-the-mill stuff.
Everything's mediocre. The Jellicent has an interesting attack, which you can choose 3 energy from your opponent's discard and attach them to your opponent's Pokemon. Which, yeah, that can cause some disruption, like in a Eviltal Garbodor, for example. You could attach 3 of their dark energies to their Garbodor, which would be huge. But then we just lost Dark Patch, so really, it's not doing all that much.
Yeah, it's gimmicky, and we just don't really... There's not much of a use for that yet.
No.
So anyways, we'll move on to the electric types, which is where things start to get very interesting because we get to look at our first EX of this series, Manectric EX.
Arguably, in my opinion, probably the best attacking EX in the set. Just both of its attacks are insanely good. Rush Off, just doing 20 damage and then doing 20 to a bench. Yeah, it's a weaker Landorus, but this is Landorus, even Stunfisk, for example, is still a good card. Just doing 20 and 20 to the bench. 40 for 1 is a really solid. It's pretty solid.
Oh yeah.
And then its second attack, if they have any tools on it, you're basically doing 2 energy for 120 damage. That is just huge.
Especially in a format where tools are very prevalent. I mean, Muscle Band is used in basically every single deck.
But the thing is, this card also combos with a few cards we'll see later on in this set.
Alright. So anyways, we'll probably get back to him as we get to looking at some of the full arts from these cards. But let's move on to Mega Manectric EX now.
Pretty nice Mega, in all honesty. 210 HP. It's the weakest Mega we'll have. However, it does have free retreats, and Turbo Bolt is a pretty good attack, in all honesty.
It's kind of like a Victini EX on steroids.
It's more or less Thunderous EX on steroids, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But no, 110, attach 2 from your discard to your bench Pokemon. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, the problem is it has to go to 1 bench. You can't choose 2, which is, kind of disappointing, but
it's not
whatever.
too bad. I mean, I could, for competitive play, if you were to be used as something, I would probably think that Mewtwo would be a good partner for him.
Well, Mewtwo just goes in everything right now.
That's true. Anyways, we got this Pachirisu. This isn't really a good card, it's just another funny card. Its first attack, it does 10 damage for a colorless, and your opponent's weakness is changed to lightning. I believe it's till the end of, your opponent's next turn. The translation's rough right now and not entirely accurate, so we won't know entirely till we get an English scan of what it's going to do.
Yeah, the problem with how this card's worded right now is it says, until the end of your turn, your opponent's active Pokemon that was hit by this attack has its weakness changed to lightning ×2. The problem with this wording is it's saying their weakness is changed after it's hit, which means you've already done the damage, which means you're not going to get the ×2 bonus. And it's only until the end of your turn. It doesn't say until the end of your next turn or anything like that. But, this is probably just a rough translation. It probably will say until the end of your next turn or before doing damage or something like that.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's pretty funny because you can combo this with Raichu from X and Y.
Oh yeah, that's true. He'll hit the 100.
If it is until the end of your next turn, you just hit them with this, switch to your Raichu full bench, 200 damage.
Yeah, on anything. That's pretty powerful.
Just a funny little card, but that's a little too slow though to be good in this
Yeah.
format.
It's gimmicky, it's cute, it's fun, it's Pachirisu, what do you expect? Speaking of
Speaking
cute
of
and
gimmicky
fun.
and fun,
Yep.
Joltik. Card by itself is terrible, don't get me wrong, but it has something important. It has an attack called Night March. And Night March does 20 damage for each Pokemon that has a Night March attack in your discard pile. This is pretty funny.
Yeah, we're gonna come across some other Pokemon in this set, obviously, with this same attack. So the whole goal is just get everything in the discard, and you send out your little Joltik and start hitting really heavy.
Yeah, we'll discuss Night March more when we get to the other guys, just because they're more relevant in all honesty and make more sense.
Yeah.
But just remember for now, Joltik has Night March, and the Galvantula is worthless.
Yeah, the Galvantula is a lot less surprising than Joltik. That's rather funny. The Heliolisk and Helioptile, I probably butchered the pronunciations, but they're nothing special either, unfortunately. We've seen their attacks on other cards before, cut and paste, really.
Yeah, like Heliolisk just really has a weaker Magnezone Prime, and even I believe the Plasma Electros from Plasma Blast has the same attack.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and without Electric in the format, like this just isn't doing a lot. And even with Electric in the format, 30 damage for each energy you discard. The nice thing is it can be from anywhere, not just him.
Yeah, that's true.
But the problem is, like, you're gonna need a lot. You need like what? I can't do math right now.
Like 6 energy to knock out a generic EX.
Yeah, 6 energy. That's just too much. Like,
And you're ditching all of it too. You got to recover that eventually in order to do it again.
Like, even if we had Electric in the format, like talking about extended now, like you would, even with 4 Electrics, that's only 120. You would need a Muscle Band, Verbank Laser to start hitting actual numbers, but that now we're just getting too clunky.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the psychic types. The first line is we got the whole Zubat line here, and they all kind of run on the whole same gimmick. You evolve one into the other, and then that evolution will put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, whether it's to all of them due to Golbat's ability, or 30 to a single target with Crobat's ability.
This line, they really based this off Crobat G. Whom, if you guys remember, Crobat G was you just play it from your hand, put 1 damage counter on something. Like, these abilities have always been very strong in the game. The problem is they're on it right now. They're on a stage 1 and a stage 2.
So yeah, stage 2s and stage 1s are a little bit harder to play right now, just with stuff like Seismitoad format shutting off items so early.
Like, you don't really need to rare candy into the Crobat, because you can just evolve into the Zubat and still get the extra 20, but, like, I don't know, it's just, like, they're stage 1 and stage 2s, like, they seem slow. Yeah. However, they do everything but the Zubat has free retreat. However, we also have an older Zubat, with an ability that states, if it has no energy attached to it, it has free retreat. So this whole line right now has free retreat, which is another nice thing. And their attacks, while not strong, they are colorless and they are half decent. I'll say that much.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the primary decks that we'll probably see from the new format, just because it's really obvious, it's fun to set up. We also have stuff like Fortress and Format that also puts damage counters on, so we might see some of that. There's also some trainer cards that come out in the new set that can kind of help this deck do what it needs to do, so we'll get to that a little bit later in the review then.
Oh yeah.
So with that, let's move on to Gengar EX, the next big EX from this set.
Poster card of the set besides besides Manectric and Mega Manectric. You know, at first I thought this card was really good, but I don't know. He seems kind of underwhelming now. Like, Night Attack is just really just a much weaker version of Chandelier's attack. Because Chandelier does 4 damage counters, and it can be in any which way you like.
However, Chandelour's is not colorless, so it's not as flexible to
It's not
work
as
with.
flexible, and it doesn't work with a card coming up, but, you know.
Yeah.
So, for that reason, we don't really want to use Gengar EX for his first attack, because then he's just being outclassed, really, for the most part. And then his second attack, 3 for 60, poisoned, switch this with one of your benched. This is pretty strong if you think about it like this. Like, if you have a Trevenant from XY, from base XY, and a Dragalg from Flashfire, this can create a really annoying lock. Like, simply put, you would just Lysander something out, like, that has, like, a high attack cost. Like, let's say, for example, they're playing Plasma Snorlax. You could, like, capture that out, or Lysander that out, hit it with this Dark Corridor attack, poison it, switch it back into your Trevenant. They're now going to have about 70 damage on them thanks to the poison, and they can't retreat or play items. So if you can just get something big like that out with the Lysander, then this is amazing. Combo this with a Dusk Noir, and like I said, this can be a very annoying lock. The problem is this lock sounds extremely hard to set up.
I would know. I've tried to do this kind of thing before. It's basically a weaker Excelgor because you don't get that paralysis.
Yeah, and also we also have a Donphan right now in the formats, which has like a similar attack to Dark Corridor, but you don't poison them, and you're only doing 40. However, it's a fighting type. It has all that amazing support that we just got. Plus, it's a lot easier to set up, even though it's on a stage 1.
Anyways, yeah.
And it needs 1 energy. This needs 3, which, however, don't get me wrong. I do believe this has potential. It's just right now it seems like it's going to be really hard to set up.
It may see play. It has that fighting resistance too, which will be big with fighting getting all that good damage amplifying support. So let's just quickly look at Mega Gengar EX too. Not really anything that special, to be honest. He's got an interesting attack. His HP is pretty standard for a Mega now that we've seen. He's got the same resistance and all that. He's got a single retreat cost, not bad.
Yeah, like the attack's nice. Phantom Gate, just choose any one of your opponent's Pokemon's attack and just use it. Like, these abilities have always been strong. Like, take a look at base Black White Zoroark. That card saw a little bit of play just because of the fact, like, hey, I can copy your Black Ballista and just kill your Black Kyurem instantly. Or I could just copy something like your Night Spear. The problem is, like, it's Mega Gengar EX is really reliant on your opponent having good things out.
Yeah, so if your opponent's using like a bunch of weak little basics that are going to be evolving into like some stage 2s later, you're going to not really have anything to hit them with in the early game. Like, you're not going to Phantom Gate for your opponent's tackle and do 10 to the active, because that's just...
Yeah, if you Mega Evolve too early with the Gengar, then you can put yourself in a pretty bad position.
Yeah, so he's probably not going to see that much play.
The Mega Gengar, no. The regular Gengar has potential, but again, I know I'm saying this a lot, just pretty hard to set up.
Yeah.
You're going to need 3 energy on this thing, plus 2 different stage 2s, plus a Dusk Noir. You don't need the Dusk Noir, but the Dusk Noir just creates that hard lock when they get something with a huge retreat cost. They basically just lost.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on in the Psychic line. We've got this interesting little Wobbuffet. Nothing terribly powerful, but very interesting ability.
I love this card. I can't believe this card's only a common in Japan, which means it'll probably be an uncommon here. Like, Donphan, like, this would also go well in, say, that Gengar deck.
Was it? The ability is, as long as Wobbuffet's active, all abilities, aside from Psychic-type Pokemon, will be shut down.
So yes, unlike Garbodor, this trades off from it needs to be active instead of having a tool. But like I said, we're getting these... Right now we're getting these cards that just attack and switch to the bench. old Donphan, this Gengar. Like, I could see this being as a one-of in the Donphan, in like a Donphan Trevenant deck, for example. Just switch early game, switch into this. Like, they don't use your Trevenant. Like, let's say for example you're going against a Blastoise deck, you're gonna want to switch into your Trevenant to prevent them from using their rare candies and whatnot. But if they do say get that Blastoise out, and then we can just hit it and switch to this Wobbuffet, and now the Blastoise is relatively useless.
Yeah, especially since they like to run Keldeo. Keldeo can no longer rush in. Blastoise can't pump up the 4 energy immediately and start hitting or retreating.
So yes, I think this Wobbuffet has potential. As Garbodor is also seen, shutting off abilities is huge.
Oh yeah, no, that Darkrai Garbodor was quite a big threat there for the longest time.
The problem is this guy needs more support than the Garbodor does, so...
Whether we'll see play of him, we'll have yet to determine.
However, he is also a bulky 110 basic, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a basic. Only giving up 1 prize. Anyways, so let's the rest of the psychics in this set. For the majority, actually no, I shouldn't say that. There's actually a couple of good ones up. The next big one, actually being this Lampent here.
Yep, if you're taking a look at it right now, you're going to see a certain attack called Night March, which certain Joltik, as we've previously seen, has. So
that's 2 different Pokemon with Night March, and they're doing 20 times the amount in your discard, so meaning at this point, if you do have you can have up to 8 of these in your discard. Now, if you're hitting with one, you can have 7 in your discard. You're already up to 140 damage, so that's pretty decent for 3 energy on a non-EX.
Yeah, 3 energy on a stage 1 that's not even fully evolved, or even on a basic 30 HP Pokemon on the Joltik.
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous, especially if Yveltal does see a little bit of play too with that electric weakness. We could see Joltik knocking out a big Yveltal EX.
That's just too funny.
Oh, it's great. That little guy packs power. The next interesting card is actually Chandelure here with the ability, what's it called? It's Fainting Spell. So if Chandelure is knocked out, your opponent flips a coin, or it might be you flip a coin. But if you get heads, the opposing Pokemon is knocked out.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to really be. Like, it's a stage 2 that's a very powerful ability, don't get me wrong, but it's also unreliable. It's only going to work 50% of the time. Its attack is kind of underwhelming. And this thing needs to be it doesn't need to be active, but to be knocked out. But I mean, for the most part, if this thing's on your bench and they have a Landorus, they're not going to snipe to kill it and risk losing their Landorus.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole coin flip thing. Like, in order for this deck to even really stand a chance, if you're going purely on the ability, you have to pray you get the heads on the EX cards so that you don't lose the prize trade.
Yeah, otherwise you just lose this guy to an Empoleon, and then they lose their Empoleon or their Meltank or whatever they're playing as their supporter. But yeah, this card just I don't think it's all that great.
Yeah, it's an interesting ability, but it's not going to probably see much play.
If its attack was a little bit better, then maybe, but putting 6 damage counters any way you like, just for 3 energies, not really what you want to be doing on a stage 2. A stage 2 for 3 energy should be hitting over 100 damage and at least threatening a knockout on an EX at this point in order for them to stand a chance. Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to one of the bigger evolution lines of this set. We got Pumpkaboo and Gourgeist. Both are very interesting.
So first thing you're going to notice on the Pumpkaboo is, hey, Night March. Another one. This is the 3rd Night Marcher in the set. And the last one, unfortunately.
This is also the most relevant one when it comes to actual competitive use.
Yes. Now, one could argue that they could use the Chandelier, because you have to use this with Celebi, otherwise it's just not good. You could use this with the Chandelier, attack with Night March, and then prey on the ability. But that's a stage 2. And you can't use Rare Candy because you need to have the Lamp Hints. The Goregeist is a stage 1 and has an insanely good ability.
If a grass energy is attached to Goregeist, its effective HP just doubles to 200, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yes, this thing becomes as bulky as a Whale Lord. Plus, if it has a grass energy, why not throw a Virizion in there? Be immune to all the status conditions too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of an odd cost because obviously Goregeist is a psychic type. They don't really depend on grass types, but it does have colorless in its own attack, which does what is it again? It's
10 damage times number of cards in your hand. Nothing great, but you like never know, like sometimes you just have a big hand, but most of the times no.
No, yeah.
I don't know what I was going on there. No. This attack's terrible.
As we said before, though, this thing shines when you use Celebi, because that means you gain you gain access to the Pumpkaboo's Night March ability or attack, which means that this deck you can have a bulky 200 HP stage 1 non-EX Pokemon that can hit Night March, and since there are 2 other cards in this set that we can use that also have Night March, if you have 8 of those cards in your discard, you're going to be swinging for 160 damage, and they are going to be very hard-pressed to try and get a return knockout on you.
Yeah. And the awesome thing about this is this works really good with Virizion EX. Like, as Night March is all colorless, so we can just use Virizion EX to power this up and give us 100 more HP.
Yep, you can use Grass Energy in a double colorless. That's a nice quick attack, or nice quick way to power it up. 2 turns. That's not that bad. We've seen cards that do less for worse energy cost.
Yeah, we've definitely seen worse, but no, I think this speaking about Night March in a whole, I think this deck has. I actually think Night March has potential. I think it's gonna be like this season's tool drop. It's gonna be one of those decks where people are gonna see it. They're gonna think, "Oh, this deck's cute. Yeah, it can hit big damage, and like through awkwardly setting up and stuff." However, I think this deck might win a few, like a tournament here, a tournament there, like. And I don't mean just like league challenges. I mean like maybe it might like win or top 8 regionals here. It's like cities here or something. I don't think it's gonna be prevalent, but we're probably gonna see it pop up once somewhere.
It's a fun deck, and I'm sure it's gonna be one of the more talked about ones that's gonna be coming out of this set as well.
Especially when we get to the trainers.
Yes. Now, let's move on to the fighting cards. Fighting got a ridiculous power-up last set, so I'm not going to really go into depth on, like, but with Muscle Band and Strong Energy, we're just going to kind of look at these cards for face value.
No, in all honesty, I don't think we can do that now, because all that fighting support, like, just makes it so, like, Fanfi, for example, has an attack. 1 fighting energy for 10. I was playtesting earlier Donphan Trevenant. I used Tackle for 70 damage.
True. I guess
insane.
It is too. I guess it is a little bit too relevant. Yes. Under that premise, though, this Gligar is actually very interesting because for a single fighting energy, whatever Pokemon is hit by this attack, your opponent cannot attach an energy card to that Pokemon during their next turn.
Yeah, the only thing, like, I don't think that's all that great because they can just attach to their benched. However, like, again, you can do a little annoying lock with Laser and Dragalg, so they can't retreat and they can't attach energy, but then they can just switch out of that.
It's an interesting card. I mean, it is very situational, so it probably won't see much play.
I don't think it's going to see any play.
Probably not. Another card that is, again, leaning towards the more interesting side is this Gigalith here. If he's at full HP, whenever he's damaged, reduce the damage taken by 50. I mean, it's a lot of damage, but he's a stage 2. He doesn't have a terribly good attack. It's got 4 energy. Doesn't do a lot of damage, and he's overall just going to be very clunky.
Yeah, like, yes, they're going to have to hit this guy for at least 60 damage if they want to hurt him, or 80 if you're using a hard charm. But his attack takes 4 energy, so 2, 4, 6, 8. That's Mewtwo right there. Mewtwo's going to hit you for 40, and then you lose your high density armor once he's fully powered up.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be too hard to try and combo this with like super potions and all that stuff. Unfortunately, his pre-evolutions don't have any really good attacks for cheap energy costs, so
Like Celebi.
Celebi isn't really in the picture either, unfortunately.
No, just the 4 energy attacks just takes too much.
So anyways, that's fighting. Now we're going to move on to the darks. The first one, we got this Honchkrow. It's kind of, it's meh. It's not good. It's definitely not the worst, but it's okay.
Nightmare Dance if they're asleep. It's okay, but like 120 for 3 now is like, I know this is going to sound bad, but it's 120 for 3 energy is not that good when you also need something else set up. Especially like,
well, I mean, it is the fact, though. You're hitting for 120, and they'll be asleep. So that's just kind of, you got to pray that they kind of stay asleep going into their turn for this deck to kind of really work all that well. Honchkrow's not the bulkiest of stage 1s.
no, I hear ya. But no, its attacks really aren't that great. The fact that it has to be already asleep is just painful.
In the dark types, we've also got this Spirit Tomb here. Just another weird, interesting card. For his first attack will do 10 damage for a colorless, and during your opponent's next turn, he or she cannot play Pokemon cards from his or her hand to evolve the Pokemon that got hit by this attack. So, very techy.
Very similar to the Gligar we just saw. However, I feel like this would be better than the Gligar in all honesty. Because if they're playing like an evolution deck, say, and they only have like one, like if they're playing a Garbodor deck, for example, and they only have one Trubbish, you can Lysander it out, hit it with this, and it doesn't say it has to remain active.
Yeah, that is true. So, I mean, it's a very gimmicky card. Probably it's not going to see any play, though.
However, we also have to remember that a lot of these are rough translations at the moment, so...
Yeah, things are subject to change.
Yep.
Alright, the next dark card, that's another interesting one. We got this Liepard. Its first attack for a dark energy. It deals only 10 damage, but during your opponent's next turn, any damage done by the Pokemon that got hit by this attack will do 60 less.
Yeah, 60 less, 80 less with a hard charm. That is a lot of damage you're going to be avoiding, but you're really not doing anything in return.
Yeah, you're going to do 10 damage if you decide to go with a Muscle Band, that's 30. And that fighting weakness isn't going to help, because we know how strong fighting can hit now, so you're basically just eliminating the fact that you're getting hit for weakness is all.
A Landorus with any strong energy, or with one strong energy or one muscle band, will be getting past your reduced damage by 60.
Yep. So it's an interesting attack. Again, probably not going to see any play. Now, the next card and the last dark card in this set is Malamar EX. Now, this is he's a very interesting EX because we haven't really gotten one with his attack before. His ability, if you attach a dark energy from your hand to him, you can put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep, which is actually a very good ability. Status conditions are really good. If your opponent gets the tails on the sleep, that's huge. They can't attack. They're going to have to try and do something to get out of it. Unfortunately, though, his attack is a little bit... it's interesting on an EX card.
His attack is definitely interesting. The ability to OHKO any non-Mega EX for 3 energy is pretty big. However, that's 3 heads in a row. That's only about a 12.5% chance of working. And then like that can be increased with Fliptini, but
Well, yeah. For those who don't know, it's his attack is 60 times the amount of coins you flip, and that's determined by the amount of energy attached to them. So 3 energy equals 3 coins, 3 heads equals 180 damage. Very interesting. We haven't really seen an EX depend this heavily on coin flips before. I know we had Mega Kangaskhan, but it started at a base amount, which was like decent.
Mega Kangaskhan had a base amount that allowed it to 2-hit pretty much any EX in the format.
There's this thing. It's all luck based, so we might see some stuff. We might see some stuff floating around, just kind of joking around with that in Fliptini.
And going back to its ability, it's the same problem with Pyroar that's also in this set. Like, you're gonna want to be powering up your other attacker, but then you want to be attaching to this guy to get the ability. So
maybe we'll see him. He'll probably be a one of in like decks that run the High Dragon with Dark Trance, because that's still in format. So they'll attach to him, put the active to sleep, and then just move it up to whatever they're gonna hit with. So he may see some play in that.
Fighting weakness also really hurts it, which actually doesn't really make much sense because he's not weak to fighting in the game, but whatever.
Since when have the cards ever been show accurate?
Oh, speaking of game accurate cards.
Oh, we got this Heatran, don't we?
Why is it weak to fire?
It's weak to fire. It is fire type. It makes no sense.
This makes no sense on 2 levels. It's neutral to fire, and 9 times out of 10, Heatran's going to have flash fires, so it's going to be immune to fire.
Anyways, that's Pokemon derping at its finest.
However, this Heatran is pretty nice.
Yeah, he hits, he hits 3 for 40 plus 40 more if there's a stadium in play. And
which, let's be honest, there's... In this format, there's going to be a stadium in play.
Yeah.
And he has a Steam Blast for 4 energy, 130, discard 1 energy attached.
Not bad.
Yeah, he has got really good support coming up in the Hyper Metal deck. However, right now I feel he's a little outclassed by the Cobalion from Legendary Treasures.
Yeah, that's it's a non-EX attacker. Metal has not really seen too many good non-EX attackers, unfortunately. Even their EXs have been pretty garbage for the most part.
However, this card is good as the safeguard counter or as your non-EX attacker, and 130 is actually pretty relevant now, as that allows you to knock out non-EX legendaries.
Yep.
Like, take a look at the Outrage Dragons, Terrakion, Eviltall, Xerneas, despite some of those being weak to metal. 130 is still relevant, as it allows you to just knock those guys out instantly. I believe this is like the only guy who can do that without some sort of buff or some sort of pre-existing condition or weakness.
Yeah.
Anything like that. He's just the only guy you can drop and kill a non-EX legendary relatively easily. Quotation marks for energy.
Yeah. Anyways, Scalpelier's the other metal in this set. His attacks have been copy and pasted from other attacks that we've seen before.
And those attacks have never seen any play.
Yeah.
So let's go on to the fairy types, and we have Florges EX.
This is a good addition, in my opinion, to the generic fairy decks. For its first attack for fairy energy, search your deck for a supporter and add it to your hand. It's definitely not the worst attack to start out with. You know, we all get those games where you just start out with just a bad hand.
It's a pretty good lead for the fairy decks, in all honesty.
Yep, you can use a supporter, maybe not for draw support in the first turn, because you know that you're going to use this attack and then get it for that, so you can try and go for maybe a more aggressive play early on.
Yes, like your turn 1, like let's say if we're playing an Aromatisse shell, we can use Fan Club and then search for like a Sycamore.
Exactly.
Like this card, and its attack is also pretty good. It hits 120 for 2, which is starting to scare me.
Yeah.
As 120 for 2 seems to be becoming a power creep they're kind of pushing. Granted, it's not 120, like nothing, like just it's not just 2 energy 120 damage done. All of them, all 3 cards in the set that can do that have some sort of prerequisite. Manectric, they have to have a tool attached. Malamar, you need to hit 2 heads in a row, and this you can only be playing. You have to have a full bench, and you can only have grass and fairy types.
Yeah, so there's definitely a little bit of restraint with Florge's attack. It also has 160 HP for an EX, which is a little bit random.
This is the second time we've seen it, but 160 is pretty bad. It just, the 10 less HP hurts it. A lot of decks go for that 170 damage, so it's not as bad as you would seem. However, the 10 less damage, like sometimes people come up 10 short. Sometimes you can only hit for 160.
Yeah. But with Metal actually going to be getting some support in the new set, Metal weakness is not going to be the best thing to have in the world. The Heat Ran we mentioned before, with a Stadium in play, cannot get out with its first attack because it's doing 80 damage with the weakness times 2, and that is hitting exactly 160 right there.
Yeah, Metal weakness used to be one of the best weaknesses to have. Now it's not.
Now it's going to be relevant.
It's a pretty bad weakness. You'll see later.
Anyways, we also got this cute little Slurpuff that is also a nice addition that the fairies get. Its ability is just pick up a card.
Yeah, I don't think this card isn't as good as Electrode, say. As Electrode is, you may draw until you have 4, so Electrode is one of those cards that's just like, hey, N isn't really going to do anything to me when I have one prize left. I'm always going to have a hand of 4. However, this card would like work with that Florges, for example. Just do 20 more damage and draw a card every turn.
And I should also mention, if this Slurpuff is active, you do get to draw 2 cards instead of 1, but more often than not, he's not going to be your active. The only way it's going to really work is if you do really some sort of weird switching thing, maybe with like a Keldeo, and you'll have to be running switches.
Yeah, the problem is, though, if you're playing a Keldeo, then your Florges is being weakened.
That's true.
Like, in all honesty, I could only see this. I only really would play this Slurpuff in a Florges deck, because otherwise, Electrode just outclasses it for the most part.
Yeah. So it's a nice little tech to have if you like. You just want like a little bit of a boost constantly throughout the game.
Yeah, drawing 1 a turn is by no means bad.
All right, now we're on to the dragons. We only have 3 dragons. They're all the same line. We got the High Dragon line here, and he's going to be an interesting card to see whether he gets played or not, because his ability is that you may take a dark energy from your discard and attach it to your active Pokemon. So dark patch for your active, basically.
Yeah, this ability is good. It's very reminiscent of Electric's ability, only it's going to the active, which for the most part you could argue that's better, as now you don't have to switch it or anything. So yeah, to the active I'd say is definitely better than the bench.
The other thing this card has going for it, though, is it's really bulky, but it is a stage 2, but it's bulky, it's got a good ability, it's got a good weakness in this format. Fairy's not too relevant, so it's not going to die that easy.
Yeah, Fairy's getting a lot of hate now.
Yeah, and because obviously you're going to be running the entire, the Dano Zwellius line, you're going to be running that Dark Trance Hydreigon anyway, so it's going to synergize really well if you can get 2 of these into play. You got the Dark Energy Acceleration, you can move it around as you see. So we're going to probably see a couple of these decks pop up just because it's going to be decently powerful.
Yeah, you never know with decks, like, I'm sure you're going to see people testing these and everything, so yeah, but you never know really, like, again, like a problem with this is it's a stage 2, whereas Electric was a stage 1. So this thing you're gonna have to wear candy into. And yes, to get this card to its full potential, you're probably gonna want to be running the Dark Trance one, as this will allow you just to get huge amounts of energy in play, and like save your guys with a max potion when it's about to be knocked off or knocked out.
And we've seen how powerful max potion can be. Fairy Toolbox is still a somewhat popular deck, so we'll see what happens if this card's going to see play or not.
Yeah.
So with that, we're moving into the colorless Pokemon section. There really is nothing in the colorless section, as there usually is not.
The Chansey has a funny attack. It's by no means great. It's just funny.
Oh yeah, Lucky Punch for 3 colorless. If you don't have 7 cards in your hand, this attack does nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, 100 for 3 energy. Meh, it's a stage 1 with 100 HP, or it's a basic with 100 HP, so not bad, but it's got fighting weakness.
Payback attack. It seems like it could be good. However, we just lost Reuniclus, which would have given this the best potential, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, you could try and run it with maybe an outrage deck. It's always risky having your Pokemon heavily damaged, though, so it's probably not going to see much, if any, play.
Yeah, relying on your guys to be damaged to do damage is never a good strategy.
Yeah, no. But it's got some good art on it. Look how happy that Blissey is.
I don't like that art, actually.
Everybody's
that face is way too small. That mouth and those mouth and eyes are just way too small for that body.
Yeah. All right. So that's all the Pokemon in the set. Let's move on to the trainers. Now we're getting.
Hey, we're skipping some guys.
I'm skipping some guys. Wait, who am I skipping?
Skipping Xploud and Regigigas.
Oh, I didn't realize he had some stuff going in him too.
Okay, no, Xploud, 2 colorless, 20 damage to everything. It's not great, but I mean, you could always try this in the Dusknoir shell, but it is weak to fighting.
He's generally, unfortunately, outclassed, though, by Gourgeist in most cases. Because that's at stage 1, it takes 1 energy, and it does damage counters instead.
Yeah, I don't know why I said this Xploud. This Xploud's actually really bad.
It's okay. I mean, he definitely doesn't have the worst of attacks.
The Regigigas is another interesting one, but it's really not that great.
Yeah, your opponent will do 40 less during their next attack when you hit them for 80 damage for 3 colorless. I mean, it's not bad, but he's also got that fighting weakness, which is really bad to have right now.
Yeah. Fighting weakness is probably one of the worst weaknesses to have at the moment.
Yep. So that, hopefully, right there, then will conclude the colorless section, and we get to move on to the trainer section, which is probably the most exciting section of this set right now.
Probably the best part about this set, in all honesty. I found the Pokemon of this set to be a little subpar for the most parts. The trainers in this set are just absolutely disgusting.
Yep. So I think every single one of these trainers really just deserves at least a little bit of mention. So we're going to go through them all, starting with, if anything is the worst, it's the Target Whistle. You take a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard and slap it onto their bench. Not very exciting at all.
A card like that does have potential. As we saw, this is the exact same as the Duskull's attack from Flashfire, and as soon as that card was released, we saw players opting to play that one instead. As, like, sometimes just bringing up a Pokemon that's useless in the matchup is a good thing. Like, if you're playing a Garbodor deck, why not start filling up their bench spots with Trubbish? The Garbodor is going to be useless for them. They're not going to be able to bench other things that's useful for the matchup.
Yeah, so it'll be good in that aspect. As well as decks that like to do lots of spread damage, you can force your opponent to have a big bench, meaning you're going to be able to just pile the damage up and move it around with a Dusknoir.
Oh yeah. Like, Target Whistle, it's a hard card to fit into a deck, but its effect is pretty good. Don't think because you're reviving your opponent's Pokemon, it's like this terrible thing. No, reviving when you get to choose like what your opponent has to revive, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Anyways, so we're gonna move on to the next trainer card. This is Battle Compressor, and in my opinion, it's one of the. I really like this card. You use it, and then you search for 3 cards in your deck, and you just send them to the discard right off the hop.
What was that certain attack we were talking about earlier?
Oh, I don't know. It had something about doing with bands and whatever they do on streets, I think. Something like that. Marching, that's it.
Yeah, Night March. This is insane. Like, you play a few of these, and it's just like, okay, Night March is now out of control. This is the card that's going to make that makes Night March good.
Yeah, if you play 2 of these and you have, like, assuming that your prizes don't really have any Pokemon with Night March in them, you can be ditching 6 Night Marchers right off the hop, meaning that you're going to be doing 120 damage with that attack, turn 1 or turn 2, depending on your setup.
Turn 1 would be a little insane.
I guess so, especially if you're going to be hitting with that Gourgeist with the Grass Energy and Psychic or Double Colorless and whatever you want to use.
Yep.
It also adds consistency to some other decks that can't afford to run it, just because if you're in a matchup where you don't need a specific trainer card, like you run lasers and you're against a Genocide Virizion, you can ditch them to prevent yourself from getting dead draws. It's not going to see play because of that, though I'm just saying the decks that can't afford to fit one, that need to, can really abuse that aspect of it as well.
Oh yeah.
So let's go on to the next one, too. Substitute Robot. Now, this one's also getting a lot of talk right now.
A card I originally didn't like, however, after rereading it, I'm actually seeing how good this card actually is.
It's very reminiscent of the old fossil Pokemon from base set.
Yeah, well, it's reminiscent of the old fossil types where they were basically weak Pokemon that couldn't attack and gave up no prize. This card, I think, could give Stage 2s a little bit of some potential.
Yeah, you can use it to stall out your opponent. You just slap it up front. They're going to hit that thing, take no prizes. It also has now, according to what the translation says now, you can discard this card at any time. Now, I don't know if it's going to mean from your hand or if you can just have it on the field and say, okay, I choose to ditch it. If that is the case, then you can slap this thing on the field as your active. You take out whatever was your active, and then you can ditch it right away, and it basically will act as a switch card for you, which, I mean, is pretty good. It'll add flexibility to the usage of this card, assuming the translation is what we understand it to be.
Yeah, that's, the ability to be a switch and a stall card is insane.
Mm-hmm, yeah, like you said, Stage 2s are going to run a couple copies of these just to try and help them with the early game setup and try and compete with some of the fighting decks out now that like to just hit hard, heavy, and fast.
And the awesome thing about this is the way it's worded, your opponent does not take a prize. This means they can't Lugia to get around it.
Yeah, that's also really good against the the Plasma matchup. That'll be pretty big too.
And up next we have a new mechanic called the Spirit Link mechanic. Now, what a Spirit Link is, all Spirit Links are tools with a Pokemon on them, and you attach this tool to anything, but obviously you're going to want to do it to the one that it's saying. So you attach this to your Pokemon, and when it Mega Evolves, your turn does not end.
This is huge.
This is really huge. Unfortunately, now your guy's not going to have a tool, really, unless you're going to play Tool Retriever, but now we're getting into little combo-y things where we're going to have them at the same time. However, it's still a thing, and I think Tool Retriever is actually not a half bad card, taking a look at the next two cards we see.
Yeah, that's very true. Just a quick little note. It makes sense that they're bringing out Spirit Link now, because like we said before, the Megas that we're getting in the set aren't exceedingly overpowered. They hit hard, they're gimmicky, but if we had this sort of Spirit Link for stuff like Mega Venusaur or Mega Blastoise, it would be disgustingly powerful because they hit a lot harder. Mega
Kangaskhan, I think, would be the worst of all of these.
Yeah, having a Mega Kangaskhan actually be able to hit you turn 2 because it didn't have to worry about Mega Evolving would be very scary.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that these quote-unquote weaker Mega Evolutions, I say that very loosely, get these sort of Spirit Links to make them at least more relevant.
And we never know. We might get Spirit Links as promos for other things. As you probably noticed, there's no Gengar Spirit Link in this set. However, Japan's getting that as a promo, I believe. And usually the English versions of Japan sets are usually the Japan set, some promos they got at the time. And usually if something like a deck, like the Hyper Metal deck that we're going to be going over relatively soon came out, it's going to be part of it.
Yeah. So let's move on. We're getting a new sort of mechanic introduced to the trading card game when this set comes out, and that is the Team Flare's Hyper Gear.
Actually, this brings up a point. I just noticed this, but a lot of these trainers are also Team Flare gear. So we might see some team like these ones are Team Flare's hyper gear, but some of the other ones are Team Flare gear.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
This means we might see more Team Flare support in the future.
That would be interesting if they sort of did plasma cards, but they made them Team Flare. It'd be interesting.
It would be nice.
So let's start out with this hyper gear now. We have two cards that we can look at. The first one is the Jamming Net.
Jamming Net, in my opinion, is the weaker of the two. In case you don't know what these hyper gear cards do, is their Pokemon Tool F, Pokemon Tool Flare, and what these do is you attach them to your opponent's Pokemon, and they have negative effects. So Jamming Net, they do 20 less damage, so it's like a reverse muscle band.
Yeah, and then we also have Head Noiser, which is the other one in this set, and that is you can only attach it to, well, I don't know if you can only attach it to an EX, but when you attach it to an opponent's EX Pokemon, the attack cost of all their attacks on the card go up by a single colorless energy, which is pretty strong.
This is way better than Jamming Net, as in the fact Jamming Net will prevent 20, however, in some cases, this is going to prevent more, as it's going to take a turn longer to set up for their more powerful attacks. Like, going first and throwing Head Noiser on a Landorus is huge.
Yeah, they won't be able to be turn one as easy if you are going first and stuff, as well as, like was mentioned before, you are also denying them the ability to put their own supportive tools onto their EXs.
And these cards are what's going to make these cards make Manectric EX also better.
Yes, because you now actually have the option to put a tool card onto your opponent's Pokemon, meaning that you're going to get that bonus 60 damage a lot more consistently.
Yep.
So now we're into the supporters. This is where things get a little bit interesting. We got some interesting supporters this round.
Yeah. AZ is actually, AZ is continuing a trend where they're printing trainers that have a coin flip into supporters. This is basically Super Scoop Up without the flip as a supporter.
Yeah, you use this and you just get to return one Pokemon. I think it's on your side of the field.
Yep.
Yeah, it's your Pokemon. Yeah, so yeah, this just denies you the coin flip. You play your supporter for the turn, but you get the instant effect.
I think this is kind of a weaker version of Seeker, which your opponent had to do the same thing. But again, this card is good. Super Scoop Up is an amazing card. It basically allows you to conserve your energy and a max potion at once.
Yeah, in decks like, if Blastoise is still going to be very popular in the new format, Blastoise is going to love this card because it's very good for them because they run the Keldeos, they can just bring back.
I don't think Blastoise will like this card too much, in all honesty, as Blastoise lost Beach, so they're gonna not really. Blastoise is gonna want to be playing draw supporters.
Yeah, that will be true. So we'll see. It also works well with that that Golbat Crobat deck that we were talking about before, because then you can re-evolve all your Pokemon.
I think this card's best potential will be with either a Weavile shell or a Dragonite deck. EX deck.
Yeah, we could definitely see it in some of those. And, I mean, in the rare scenario, if you run that Execute, you start the egg, it's stuck active, and you can get another one to switch it out. You can always just return it to your hand if you get desperate.
Yep. Here's a pretty disappointing supporter, in my opinion. Xerosic, I have no idea how to say this guy's name. Choose one special energy or Pokemon tool from either your Pokemon or your opponent's Pokemon and discard it. This is basically Enhanced Hammer or half of a Tool Scrapper.
Yeah, but it's a supporter.
This card, I just don't like it.
It's very underpowered for being a supporter. This is one of the weakest ones we've seen in a while.
It should really say choose one and/or.
Hopefully this is a mistranslation, because if it does say and, then that will make this card a lot better. But as of right now, it's literally being outclassed by item cards, which is pretty bad.
It's yes, this card. in all honesty, with all these the Team Flare Hyper Gears, I can see this card being. Oh, excuse me. I can see this card being played as maybe a one of, because this allows you to hit your own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the worst thing. If you're in a pickle, your opponent uses a lot of special energy, you can ditch it and stuff.
However, you can't go like last season. You can't go Enhanced Hammer, which is like discard 2 special energy.
Yeah, so that's definitely it's gonna maybe see play mostly as a one-of here or there just to try and counter the Team Flare gear.
Really depends on if your deck needs it or not, but for the most part, I'm going to say your deck's probably not going to need it.
Alright, so let's come up to the last supporter of the set that is probably one of the most game-breaking cards. Whether it's good or bad, that depends on the person you're asking, but this is Lysander's Last Resort, and when you play this card, you and your opponent take your entire discard pile, shuffle them back into your decks, except for this card, and then that's it. You just put your whole discard back into your deck.
Yeah, this card is insanely good, but it can also be insanely bad at the same time. Like, the ability to get back all your resources is huge. However, you're giving your opponent back... My main problem with this card is you're also giving your opponent back their resources, and for the most part, your opponent's can be able to go through them first.
Yeah.
As this is going to count for your supporter, so you're not going to be able to say Sycamore and draw your stuff. Yes, you can Ultra Ball Prof's Letter if they're in your hand for this stuff. However, you're going to give your opponents all their stuff back, and then they're going to be able to play like an N or a Sycamore and draw more cards into the stuff that they were just shuffled in.
Yeah, we could see this card comboed with a couple of natural draw Pokemon cards, like such as Voltor's Magnetic Draw, or maybe even Delphox's I don't know what it's called, but drawing up till 6.
However, in all, I can see this being played in almost every deck as a one of.
Yeah, I mean like up until now, the discard pile has been always so hard to access with us having an ace spec card being Dowsing Machine just to get back one trainer. Now this just is like, okay, no, you can now have access to everything you have used up until now. Granted, it's going to be in your deck still, though.
Yeah, no. This card is just absurd. Like in other games, effects like these are usually just busted.
Yeah, so hopefully it's not gonna tear apart the game. Matches might become a little bit longer because of this card.
Yep.
We'll you
want best of 3 and 50 with this card in format. Have fun, Pokemon. Have fun.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get over here to the only new stadium card that we're going to be getting with this set. This is Dimensional Valley.
You're sort of lying there, as we still have to go through the metal deck, but yes, through the actual Japanese set, this is the only stadium. However, this is a fairly good stadium. Each player's psychic Pokemon pays 1 colorless less to attack.
That's pretty powerful in some situations.
Yeah, this allows, like, say your Gengar, it can now attack for free with its first attack.
Mm-hmm. And this will also work, obviously, it's all psychic, so we have some other stuff from older formats that we'll be able to use other stuff for free. Nothing really comes to mind off the bat, but I mean, if a Mewtwo really wanted to, it can X-Ball for 1 energy.
I think the card that has the most potential with this would be Driftbloom.
Oh, yes. We have the Shadow Steel.
Shadow Steel Driftbloom is still in format due to a
promo being reprinted.
Yeah, sorry, I can't caught my tongue there. I couldn't speak. But yes, I think this card giving like the guys who can attack for free are going to obviously benefit awesomely from this. We also have a Toxicroak from Legendary Treasures, which has the Revenge attack. Which now, that's just 0 for 90 if anything was knocked out.
Which, that's pretty ridiculous and awesome. There's also the Toxicroak EX in format. If the stadium's in play, you can triple poison them for a single energy instead of using a double colorless. That's probably not going to be what the stadium's used for, but it is an option.
Yeah, this basically provides an extra psychic energy. Well, it basically provides a colorless energy for all your psychic types, which is huge.
Yeah. So we're going to probably see that popping up in decks here and there.
Dimensional Valley, in my opinion, will see play if like the psychic types. I think this card will see play.
Yep. And speaking of psychic types, we have a new special energy coming with this set. The mystery energy.
Yeah, following a trend that seems to be happening now, every type looks like they're going to be getting their own special energy. Mystery energy, I think it's good. I like it. What about you?
Decent. It's pretty decent.
Making the retreat cost 2 less is huge. This basically means, hey, my Mewtwo has free retreats. Or hey, my Garbodor or Dusknoir you Lysandered up that doesn't have a float stone on it, this retreats it. I believe.
I think they might be a little bit bulkier, but this definitely helps though, because it's essentially attaching a double colorless energy if you're going to be using it to retreat.
No, it makes it 2 less, and then you would discard it to pay for the third.
Yeah. Oh, yep, that'll do it. Yeah.
I believe that works. So this card retreats those heavy guys too, which is also nice.
So this card's definitely going to be really good.
Little underwhelming when compared to strong energy, but if everything was strong energy, I think I would quit this game along with a lot of other people.
Yeah. And then up next in the set, we've got all these nice looking full arts. We've already gone over the cards. Let's just pop some of these up here. We got some nice looking ones. Manectric looks pretty good. Gengar looks he looks pretty cool. His background's all
I like the Gengar. It's it's a bunch of ectoplasm and he's like flying through like a dimensional valley.
That's true. He's flying through space and time. This Malamar is also pretty intimidating. He's pretty cool looking.
Florges is alright. I think I don't know. It's the least interesting in my opinion.
Probably. And then we have the supporter full arts.
AZ looks alright, nothing too great. Xerosic, that looks intense.
Yeah, AZ's okay. Xerosic, he's
and
got
then
that glove on.
Lysander's Last Resort's just I love that art. It's good.
Oh yeah, that is powerful art right there. That's gonna be a very nice pull if anybody gets that.
Yeah, and then we have our worthless golds. Like, let's just skip these because I hate these cards so much.
Yeah, the gold border megas. So now we're up to some of the cards in the Hyper Metal Chain deck. Now let's just go to what a lot of people have heard about. This Bronzong right here.
Hey, look guys, Electric's back.
Only for metal. Oh my word.
Only for a type that has never had acceleration before.
Yep, this is the first steel support we've seen that has actually been really good. Up until now, the best thing we had was Plasma Clangs, Plasma Steel blocking damage to reacts, but that wasn't really good with the... it didn't really make Steel competitive at all. This puts Metal on the map.
Yeah, this is what makes Metal weakness relevant. Like, you have 2-3 of these on the bench, and just you're getting Metal energy like there's no tomorrow. This card, like, we all saw how good Electric was back in its heyday, so... Yeah.
And especially with Battle Compressor being a thing now, if you aren't running those Ultra Balls, you're going to be running those to ditch the energies faster, so you can start using this a lot quicker than you could normally. Which is
thank God, yeah. Also, this card's exactly like Electric, and it doesn't have like a Metal clause where you can only do this to Metal types. You can do this to any type, so this works with a Mewtwo, for example, which is nice.
Colorless attackers, yeah, like you said, Mewtwo, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and in all honesty, this Metal deck... Right underneath this card, we also get a pretty good attacker, in my opinion. Or we get 2 good attackers.
Let's pull them both up right now. We've got Dialga EX and Aegislash EX. Let's look at Dialga EX first.
Its first attack's really nothing special. 3 energy. If it hits an EX, it cannot attack. It's okay, but I mean they'll just probably retreat and attack with something else anyways. Full Metal Impact, 150 discard 2 metal. It's all right. Like with a muscle band, this is hitting 170, so this can hit some important. This hits important knockouts, which is nice. So this is if you're playing a metal deck, I think the Dialga EX will be the main attacker for the most part.
Most definitely, yeah. And the fact that, like we said, that you can have multiple Bronzong set up on the bench, this ditching 2 energy is not going to be that big then, because then you can just accelerate those the next turn, pump up either another Dialga EX or switch it back to the bench. get the energy back on.
And he works with DCE, which is also nice.
Yeah, a nice little bonus in case you don't have as many of your Bronzong set up yet.
And now for another amazing metal type EX, Aegislash-EX, which is for the most part a reprint of Scizor Prime.
Yeah, he's got his ability allows him to not take any damage or be affected by Pokemon that have any special energy attached to them, which is really strong in a format where a lot of double colorless hitters are being very dominant. Strong energy is also being very dominant, so he's going to be able to just not take any damage from a lot of things.
This card will make people think twice before just slamming strong energies onto their Landorus.
Yeah, and he's also got a decent attack to boot. He's got attack for 3 colorless energy. You will do 40 damage plus 20 more for each metal energy attached to him. So he's a Keldeo for steel types.
Effectively a Keldeo minus 10 because metal types always have to get shafted somehow.
Yep. But still, you're going to be at worst 2-shotting EXs in the format. You don't need to worry about Muscle Band. You can afford to put other tools on or not even have to worry about tools at all with him, which is really nice.
No, yeah. Dialga EX and Aegislash-EX are definitely the 2 best metal type EXs we have gotten.
They're good enough that we're going to most definitely see these popping up in probably a couple top 8s. In regionals and stuff. Like, this is most definitely going to be one of the most competitive decks that's going to be coming out of the new set.
The fire weakness though is huge. This now gives this will now breathe Pyroar Charizard new life, as Pyroar Charizard's already good against Verzian Genesect, which has proven that it's still a good deck.
Yeah, Pyroar is still somewhat popular. It pops up here and there. It will give this deck trouble. So it's gonna have to find a way to hit around that, because even the all metals are weak to fire. We saw that with Heat ran over there.
I think your best option would be just do what the Verzian Genesect decks are doing now and run like a 2-2 or a 3-3 Beartic line.
Yep, because I mean, hey, he works off to colorless energy. Bronzong's not limited to metal types.
Yep.
And then we've got really one last thing from this metal deck that we can look at, and this is Steel Shelter.
Actually, there's 2 things. For some reason, the scan isn't posted.
Oh, no?
That is Verse Seeker, which, in my opinion, best card in the set.
I've got to find this and pull it up if I can. Uh-oh, it's not here.
Go to, if you want, I can just work in an annotation or something.
I've got it here now.
Yeah, just write, you can write in translation in annotations or something. But this card is insane. Just its ability, search your discard pile for a supporter, put it into your hand.
Pretty powerful.
Why? This literally just makes, I don't know, Dowsing Machine worthless.
Yep, because half the time you're going to Dowsing Machine for usually a Lysander or sometimes a last-ditch effort to get a supporter to try and draw the cards you need from your deck in your order to win.
Yep, usually that Dowsing Machine's going for a supporter. This basically means you can now computer search for this and then get your supporter. So it's, for the most part, that's doing the same thing.
It's just, yeah, we're definitely gonna see like
this is a staple.
Run in like every
this
deck.
This is a staple.
Yeah, it's just too powerful to deny. Probably the best card that we're going to be getting utility-wise and stuff from this new set.
Another thing I like about this card is this also allows you to run lighter counts of some supporters. Like now, instead of running, like say if your deck was running 2 Lysanders, you can run 1.
Yeah,
and still be fine.
And we've seen that Lysander can, well, even Catcher it back in its heyday. Those will win you games right at the end when you just got that Pokemon, your opponent's got that Pokemon sitting on the bench that you just wish you could bring out.
When Catcher was first, when Catcher first came out, junk arming for a Catcher was huge. In case you're unaware, junk arm was a Dowsing Machine without the ace spec.
Yeah. So yeah, Versus Seeker definitely gonna be a staple.
And hey, metal types also get a pretty good stadium as well.
Yep, Steel Shelter. All of your metal type Pokemon in play cannot be affected or infected, like I was going to say, by special conditions, meaning that your opponent's hypnotoxic lasers are useless.
Yep. Now, obviously, they can play Verbanks and stuff to get around this, but you can always counterplay with another one. This would be a This stadium is just. It's a really solid counter stadium for metals.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, like they didn't really have anything they really could run just to try and deal with stuff. Even if you're still gonna be, like even if you're just knocking out a stadium, like for example, training center, that's 30 less HP and stuff, and just it's always nice to just have something that will benefit just you and not your opponent.
Yeah, because I don't think you're not going to be playing. Metal decks aren't going to be relying on special conditions, so this doesn't help. If in the mirror, this isn't really going to help your opponent all too much, which is nice.
Yeah. The last interesting card we're gonna look at here is this like full silver Dialga here.
This is honestly, remember the gold dragons from Legendary Treasures? This looks worse.
Yeah, I don't mind it personally, but that's my opinion. That's all.
This card looks ugly. You can't see it. You can barely make out Dialga. You can barely make out its energy attack cost.
Yeah. If you like it, you like it. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely weird. They probably should not have done this. Like, they really shouldn't have done it for the Legendary Treasure set either. Like, we saw how bad that turned out.
The Legendary Treasures was, it was nice because it was a new thing. But like, really, how many people actually like those cards? Like, I'm not making fun of you if you actually do like them, but most people I talk to think they're ugly.
Yeah.
Just because you can't make out what's on the card, and that's the problem with this right now is you can barely make out what it is.
So this is proof that Pokemon does not always learn from its mistakes.
Nope.
Anyways, what would you give this set, like, overall as a review? Like, what would you review it overall and say?
It's really hard to say. As for the main set, it's the main set for me is a little bit of a disappointment after looking at Furious Fist. Like, we do get good cards in the main set, such as this Night March stuff and Manectric. But in all honesty, I think the Hyper Metal deck is where all the good stuff is. This is where all your good attackers are. Your good trainers, or I guess all trainers, even in the main set. But this is where you get the best trainer versus Seeker. I don't really know what I would give this set as like I don't know, man. The Pokemon are like, on one hand, the Pokemon are kind of disappointing, but then you have all your metal stuff, and then you have your amazing trainers. I don't know. I would probably rate this set. I'd probably rate this set above Flashfire in terms of like how excited I am for it personally, but below Furious Fist for how playable and game. Well, no, but then the metal stuff. It's really hard to say. I'm really torn on this set, as you can tell.
Yeah, like you said, we got some good stuff. We got some bad stuff. We're definitely going to see some of those more gimmicky, sort of fun decks showing up. We got some of those really powerful new stable cards that are going to be coming out. I think if I were to give it a rating out of 10, I'd probably give it probably a solid 7, just because there are really good cards in here.
Yeah, I think my main problem is that these EXs don't seem that great for the most part, besides like Manectric and the metal ones.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this set review. We had fun reviewing it. If you have any comments that you would like to leave us, if we missed out anything important, or you want to see us do this again in the future, just leave us a comment, let us know. Just a quick disclaimer, I guess, right at the end, though. Again, these are Japanese translations. These are not 100% accurate. These are subject to change, and all the opinions you heard in this video are opinions. So, that's what we think about it.
There are opinions, and we're probably not the best players around. So you can probably, on YouTube, find 100 people better than us. But we like doing this, so we'll continue doing it.
Alright. You guys have fun in your Pokemon journeys. Until next time.
That's Professor Shuckle, and I'm Cyber C. See you guys next time.